The usual build a little audience first.
Sweet. Did you put this out on Twitter earlier?
No.
Surprise!
Yeah, here we are.
There it is. I see it.
Now, get ready to talk hockey. Streaming from the Oilers Live Studio. Subscribe or follow today.
Hello out there. We're on the air. Let's talk some hockey tonight. Filling in with me is Dash in the Park. We got Hebert out on assignment for the Heavy Hockey Network. He's, scouting players.
Scouting.
Yeah. He's went deep into Europe to see what's out there.
Somebody's got it.
It's been a long time since we've been in the booth, whether it's our booth or Michael's booth or whatever, together. How you doing?
It has been a while. Hey, we shut down Straight Off the Pipe Studios for the summer and both spent some time in our respective cities and with our respective families. Unfortunately, I keep bumping into you on Oilers Live, so I guess here we are.
Yeah.
Good to see you, buddy.
Can never fully get away. It's good to see you, too. So, how, on the summer talk, how was yours, Any exciting things you did, or?
No, man. How hard is it to get a hold of me? Are you kidding me? I ignore 9 out of your 10 calls, Dirsa. It's not because I don't like you. Well, it's a little bit because I don't like you. It's because I'm damn busy. I was in the mountains for a couple of weeks there in Canmore, and that was fun. And other than that, man, it's just really been kind of a boring straight up. We're going to do some vacationing and over Christmas, so we saved up some days for that. How about you, just banging on floors? Are we supposed to talk about hockey? Fuck, I don't know. What are we doing?
Yeah, what are we doing? I honestly, I went to Tumbler Ridge and did a little walk through some waterfalls and that. And other than that, I've been on my hands and knees a lot this summer. I've said a few words while I'm down there for you. And
I like it.
Yeah.
So you've been walking on water? Is that what I understand?
And I'm drinking out of the hockey mug, Hockey Mom mug, Oilers mug. Instead of this side, I went that side.
Does it say Hemsky's Hockey Mom?
Hey, there we go. I'm Hemmer's mom.
Hey, what'd you think of seeing all the boys back in the pictures and back in town?
You see that hair, man? Holy!
I don't even know what to say about Hemsky's hair, to be honest. Has he been homeless? And is he growing flow? Is that just old age Hemsky? Like I was taken aback. I don't know. You're his living Edmontonian dad. You tell me.
Yeah, I think he's ready for the beach in California. I think he's good to go.
Hey. Yeah, it was good. I had a customer of mine that knows I'm a big Oilers fan, but isn't. They try to keep along or whatever. And I get this text. And I'm like, oh, weird. Why would this guy be sending me a text? And it's a picture of Rafi Torres that somebody caught him in uniform and took the picture and put it on Facebook and made a joke about it being a PTO.
Yeah.
And so that customer I had been talking to in the week prior and said, yeah, I think we'll probably see a right winger on a PTO. And he texts me, he goes, I think it's going to be Rafi Torres. So I had a little bit of a laugh at that one. That said, Rafi Torres would be a good fit on our fourth line on the right wing. As long as he can still bang like he did in 06, I think we'd be all right.
Yeah, I did. You know what? I didn't see much really of anything from that. What was going on in Lloyd there? I don't know if those guys there still have it or not, or where they're at. I imagine they still can play, but
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
I can still play in them. I'm sure they can. Although I don't play very well anymore, but you'll see in our heavy hockey private thread, I did pick up 2 goals in my first game in 4 years. So, not a big deal.
Yeah, no big deal. And you should probably, tell everybody the caveat with that you're not.
No, it's a PG show. It's a PG show. I can't talk.
Well, you're not a forward. So
what's your point? Oh, the positive caveat.
Yeah,
I thought you were talking about the wager Jeff and I made before the game, which is.
Do tell.
Well, no, that was a little bit about who had their head in a garbage can first. So let's both say we both bet on ourselves, and I won. That's as far as I'll go with that. But yeah, from the blue line, I did get moved up to forward after a little bit of the game. So they must have saw after 1 goal what they could get out of me. But
I was gonna say after you had a pair, they moved you up front. And then you didn't live up to the high expectations, but...
Oh, no, moved me up, got another goal, playing Div 3. Buddy, it's not easy being this good when you're 47, but...
Yeah, you city boys and your...
Just ask me.
You city boys and your Div talk. You're in the grandest prairie of them all. You want to play, you play. There's no divisions, just get out there.
It's just outdoor rink division. Just like 25 of you passing the puck around. That's why you're a lazy left winger. You get 3 other left wingers on the ice at the same time as you.
That's right. Yeah, lazy left winger that can't win a draw that's forced to play center because I'm responsible.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. That sounds like a conundrum or an oxymoron or both.
I am beats off Twitter. I mean, he's the perfect left winger, so he plays left wing, and I have to play center because I play responsible and I try to get the puck to him so he can go score. And I rifle the puck right around his head, which is, anybody else's waste, but...
Is he as funny in real life as he is on Twitter?
Yeah, maybe more so, yeah.
Really? Yeah, I heard some good stories about him and his brother.
I signed him to a lifelong contract for Oilerslive Cups, and kind of, his contract stipulation is that I at least play Living on a Prayer right before he goes on the ice every time we play.
Or in exchange for you always for being your right winger for the rest of your life?
Yeah, my left wing, yeah.
Wow. I thought you added another stipulation to that contract recently, and that was that any other future Oilers Live Cup, I must be on the other team. What's this I heard about?
Well, yeah. And I said I was going to wear a Keith jersey.
I thought we were bros.
We are.
Not when I'm two-handing you from the other side, buddy.
That's all right. Yeah, keep your head up when you're in the corner.
Ask Luchansky. He's seen my wires crossed.
Yeah, Luchansky was down with the Vegas flu. He was supposed to ref the one that we played in the community rink. He came down with the Vegas flu, which he's trying to say that he had early corona, but I just think he was hungover.
He's full of excuses, and he always has been.
And he won't come on the show to defend his honor, so I can say whatever I want.
Well, you won't watch it either, so you really can say whatever you want.
Yeah. Jay Crockett's watching on YouTube. He says he's just relaxing and getting into hockey mode. Luchansky, #referee legend. Yeah.
Yeah, just ask him.
There's a legend in referees, but I've never seen it.
He's as much of a legend in refereeing as I am in men's league. Let's just say that.
Well, there you go.
As our pride all comes crashing down all at once.
So
you know what Luchansky is, man? He's the type of guy that looks like his babysitter. He thinks his babysitter still has his nose. Right? Like he's just gullible as all hell, that cute bugger.
Yeah. I think it was 2 years ago, maybe 3 now, where Michael would have him on and we'd do a Rip the Ref segment, and it was kind of fun. And I think he got tired of being picked on for half an hour a night and shut her down. But
if he had any truculence or a spine, he would have played hockey, not refereed it.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. I have to ask him about that, if there was ever any playing days, or he just decided, nope, can't do this, I'm done.
Yeah, I don't know.
So the burning question I got for you.
Oh boy. This scares me when I have done no prep and I literally walk in from work 5 minutes ago and you tell me you want to do a podcast. I'm terrified.
Yeah, well, I'm giving you like the softball here.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Who gets dealt, I guess, is one of them, but I got another one for you.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like I go back and forth on it, and here's my two thoughts of like my camps of thought. I think it'll either be, the short answer is I think it'll be Barry or I think it'll be Playarvi. Maybe both. We've got to get cap compliant before the start of the season and the puck drops. Whoever's in the lineup that day, that's what our cap is set at for the year. Bill Scott's got his work cut out for him. I heard that he was within 5,000 of the cap last year when he put his opening night lineup up there. Bill Scott's the assistant GM that does the cap management for Holland, by the way. All that said, if they do, I don't know, because I think if they trade somebody before the season, I'm not sure they're going to trade somebody before the season. I really think they just might go with a short roster and then see who gets hurt and go from there. You can add as many players as you want on the LTIR with the position that we're in. So really it comes down to my two camps of thought. One is, do you want to trade an asset for a positive value, or do you want to trade an asset for a negative value? And if you're going to trade Barry, I think you can get I think he's an asset with positive value. I think you can get an asset in return. I don't know about Playarvi right now. Like when you look at guys like Bjorkstrand going for a third and a fourth, or a fourth and a fifth, or whatever that was that Seattle stole him for, then that just shows you that a guy like Playarvi isn't even worth the second that was rumored that was out there for him. And I don't think Holland was willing to trade him for a second, let alone a fourth and a fifth. So as far as pure asset management goes, I think the right move is to trade Barry, because you can at least get an asset back. I don't love it because I understand we don't have a ton of experience on the blue line right now. Broberg has been very good on the right side in camp so far, apparently. I think the more he gets comfortable, and I've heard multiple people say now that he's always been more comfortable on his right side, which seems odd. But that doesn't bode well, I don't think, because we've already got an offensive puck-moving defenseman in Bouchard. You had one in Barry or in Broberg. We don't necessarily need Barry as much. So ultimately, if it's going to happen right away, I think it'll be Barry. Otherwise, I think Holland likes what he has in JP. I think JP's a 20-goal scorer. I think he's a very responsible third-line player. He's a player you can move up in the lineup when you need to, that makes other lines better no matter what. And he's got him for $3 million a year. Like, why do you want to trade him to somebody like that? He's only going to get better. So I think the asset that he eventually will move as well is, I think the more likely to get moved is JP, but I don't think he'll do it right away. I think it would be like a trade deadline acquisition where you're sending him to whatever, Anaheim in a deal for, I don't know, something like that. I just don't know how or when it's going to happen. So that's my long-winded answer. I think if it happens right away, it's Barry. If it just goes short roster, then we'll probably just keep the depth and make his decision based on who gets hurt and who we need when the season goes on. But I think Holland's wanting to hold off as long as he can on all of it. I think things are going to change with injuries, and you have more information at that time to deal with.
Yeah. Another one that's going to take you 20 minutes to answer too. When does McLeod get signed? Isn't that crazy? He's not done yet?
No, I don't think it's that crazy. I don't. And another reason I think Playarvi is going to be around for a while still, like, not only that I think he's a great $3 million asset, Holland could have signed JP to a contract at $3 million where he gave up $1.5 million in a signing bonus. instead of just $3 million straight across, here's your salary for whatever. Because he was already having trouble trading the asset. If he goes and gives the signing bonus and then only $1.5 million of real money is still owed to a player that goes against $3 million on your cap, he's a more attractive asset, because teams like Buffalo or Arizona that potentially need to get to the cap floor love those types of players that A, can still produce, B, make less than what their cap hit is. You know, rumors are that's why Kate's like Keith, he was only making $1.5 million of his 5. So I think he could have made Puljujarvi a more tradable asset and a more desirable asset if he wanted to trade him right away. I really do. I think he could have just literally, didn't make any difference to Kate's. It's still $3 million for the player. Doesn't even make any difference to our cap hit. It's still $3 million against the cap hit. But if you sign it with $1 million or $1.5 million signing bonus, he could have. So I just don't think he wanted to trade him. What's taking so long with McLeod, what I understand or what I've heard, is that he wants the club wants a 2-year deal, and McLeod is okay with a 1-year or a 2-year deal. He'd prefer a 1-year deal because he wants to, the bridge prove me contract. The team wants, security for the extra year. But if the club gets what they want and gets the extra year from McLeod, they have to pay him more. And then his AVV goes from $1 million to potentially 1.4 or 1.5 or 1.6 or something like that, in which case it actually doesn't do the team a lot of good, because we're already over the cap. We're already expecting him to sign for $1 million or $1.25 million. So if we all of a sudden have to pay McLeod $1.5 million, that's now another $250,000 we have to come up with. Which again, you actually triggered me on something why I think it may be Barrie. And again, it's the $4 million that he can recapture versus the $3 million for trading Puljujarvi. And I think that extra $1 million is huge for Holland right now, huge. So no, I'm not surprised that McLeod hasn't signed yet. I think that's what they're waiting on, and it was the exact same situation with Yamamoto last year when he didn't sign right up until the mid or end of September. And it's the same thing, cap issues. That's really what it comes down to. The club knows what they want to pay him. The agent knows what he's getting. The player is fine with what he's getting. It's just the difference between whether it's 1 or 2 years. So McLeod has basically said, you can sign me the day before the season starts. I don't care. But Holland has to, if he wants the extra year, then he's got to make a move sooner than later.
Yeah. What did you think of the whole talk of Patrick Kane?
I mean, it's still happening, dude.
Seems to have died off from what I've kind of caught, but this summer, like last summer, I was every day I was still listening to 1260 most of the day and throwing on Stauffer and that. This summer I really I think going to the Western Conference Final and seeing that this team is kind of on the rise. I really was able to step away. It probably took me almost 6 weeks to get over losing Game 4 when we should have fucking won it, and I'm still a little bit pissy about it. But I really kind of stepped away from the whole scene a little bit and actually took a real break this year, and not being glued to everything that goes on. I mean, I still pay attention, but losing Ben, I think definitely you are affected by that and drawn into that part of it. But as for the day-to-day news, after they signed Kane, really I didn't have to hear every single thing that may or may not happen.
Yeah, I did a similar thing. I didn't get to step away for as long as I wanted, to be honest, but 4 weeks was good. I think you were probably 6 or 7 in there where you were right off the podcast and not really talking much hockey at all. And but I get it, right? You go late into the Western Conference Final, and this isn't our jobs, but we both take, and all of us at the network take a lot of pride in knowing our hockey and knowing our Oilers, and you do have to still be up to the minute and We don't have insiders in our pockets telling us things, so the only way you're going to find things out is by doing your own research. So it's tough when life gets busy. So it was nice to take a break. But you're right. Part of it was the fact that we went so deep in the Western Conference Finals, and knowing that, man, this off season's only this long, right? Like usually we've got an extra month in there. So part of it was like, almost like the players, right? When you go to the Cup final and you're right back in preseason year after year, like Tampa Bay, you really enjoy those 6 weeks when you get them, I'm sure, in between. So yeah, it was good to get away for a little bit, but I'm extremely excited about the way the season's going to go. I think that, it's just going to be fun going to the rink and watching games and expecting them to win every night. And it's been a long time since I felt that way. There were obviously streaks last year, but ultimately there was bad streaks too, where I did go into games expecting them to lose games. And I feel like this is my, good night, Brett. I feel like this is my, my first season in a long time where I felt like we could win every game. We should be in every game.
Yeah, I think consistency is going to be more of a thing this year.
Hope so.
I don't.
It better be, man. There was no bigger roller coaster than last season.
And really, there's 2 reasons for that. And I'll wait for you to give me your answer, but
no, go ahead.
Dave Tippett and Mike Smith.
Yeah. Jay Woodcroft and Jay Woodcroft.
Well,
ultimately,
yeah. Now it's
steadied that shit.
Now it's Jay Woodcroft and Jack Campbell, and I think we're gonna get some consistency. And honestly, I think as a tandem, I think we're gonna be a little bit better spot. It's a lot of pressure probably on Stuart Skinner, but I think he's up for it.
What are we going to do without the elite leadership of Duncan Keith and all of his intangibles in the dressing room to keep that ship steadied like he did last year?
Yeah, I got faith in Zach Hyman, Leon Draisaitl, and Connor McDavid, and Darnell Nurse, Ryan Nugent.
Say who'd you miss in there?
Ryan Nugent Hopkins, picking that up. Yeah, I mean.
Oh, let's hope Evander Kane can be a leader. Kulak stepping into that part of his career. It should just be a team that's a machine. Like everybody should have their part and know what their part is and have consistency because of that too, right? I mean, when you go, Derek Ryan didn't know what his role was until 2/3 of the year into the season, right? Like he's full training camp, full season, knowing what his role is. Likewise McLeod, likewise Bouchard, likewise Broberg, likewise, it's going to go a long way for sure. We should almost be as good as the Flames. You're going to let that comment pass? You didn't hear me.
Oh, I heard you. I just skipped right over it. I'm not trying to. Sure did. I'm not trying to hear that. I think Calgary had a good summer. It didn't look good for them for a while. But I don't know. Like, you can be a good team on paper, and it doesn't mean fuck all. The New York Rangers proved that back when they would spend, $40 million more than everybody else, and barely would make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they're better. They're going to be more consistent. They're going to be.
They still have Jacob.
Pissed off. They're going to be.
Yeah.
Better defense. Their forward groups.
Their forward group's still their forward group though. Like, honestly, what do
you mean? No, it's not.
Yes, it is. They don't have the high end finish that we do.
Oh, their forward group's still their forward group. I thought you meant comparatively to last year, like their forward group. I'm like, no, they're not, because they lost 30% of their goal scoring into Chuck and Gaudreau, and they were the heartbeat of the team, so they're not the same forward group. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
they're not in our.
They don't have the high end. They don't have the high end game breakers that we do, and I'm sorry, they don't. And that's the difference. And really, that was the playoffs. And Markstrom was fucking rattled, but.
Yeah, I think Markstrom's going to play. The Flames are going to play 79 games, not against the Oilers. Markstrom will do just fine in those 79 games that he starts in of those. because he's a good goalie against everybody else but the Oilers. Their defense is better. Their forwards are just as good. They'll be more experienced, more dedicated, more committed. Pissed off because they got their asses kicked in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They've got a whole nother year under Sutter's system.
If you're not committed for,
and how
I'm sorry, but I got to push back. If you're saying they weren't all out committed last year, I don't buy that. Daryl Sutter doesn't allow that. He got everything out of them. They just weren't as good.
Dude, go Google what Yuri Hoodler has done to the Calgary Flames since he arrived, and Daryl Sutter's LA Kings that won Stanley Cups partied. So don't say he doesn't allow it. So
No, I mean, getting everything out of them. You can party and still give everything you have at practice.
Do you want? So is that better commitment? You got guys that are on average 3 or 4 years older, and certain. I know Goudreau's only a year younger than Huberdeau, but I don't know. I think they're bigger. I think they're.
So you believe that Huberdeau is going to be more committed to going to bed at 8:30 and eating right and all that versus Johnny Gaudreau. But how do you think that relates to point production?
Consistency.
So you're saying Gaudreau wasn't consistent?
No, they were just fine consistent until the playoffs got there.
Yeah, let's go to that. So you think Gaudreau and Tkachuk were out getting cranked, night before the game, so they're hungover and couldn't play in the playoffs? Is that kind of your?
No, in the playoffs, McDavid and Draisaitl took over, and in that
I just think they were
in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they were shook.
Our high end talent.
Yeah.
Won.
Yep.
And I'm not the Flames. They're going to lose to the Oilers in the second round again. Just because I think they're going to be a better regular season team does not mean for a second that I think that they're going to be any better in the playoffs.
They were a pretty good regular season team last year, though. Like I don't see them really improving on that. Like,
well, they're a better team.
But how many man games did they have? Last year where they were out. They were pretty healthy. They got away pretty.
They were lucky, but.
And eventually that always comes around.
Yeah, like it did in the playoffs. Ask Tanev's shoulder. I think it's still in the crease from when he tried to stop that shot from going in the game he played.
We're going to be better once we get Tanev in the lineup. No, you're not. No.
Not that version of Tanev.
No.
Two arms Tanev, he's probably pretty good. One arm Tanev, he wasn't that good.
Did you hear a little bit about what Leon had to say about all that? Because they keep going back to that. He basically said
I don't think so.
He basically said he had to learn how to play with that injury, and it took him a while to figure it out. But once he did, he thinks it helped his game because he started kind of slowing himself down and started using his mind more than his legs and
learning how to win in different ways and be effective for his teammates in different ways other than what he was doing. So earned a couple more tools in his tool belt. I did hear a little bit of that. I wasn't sure if that's what you were referring to when you asked. And I love how the team and everybody they interview is just all business this year. Like it just seems like we're all here early. We all know our goal. We all know exactly what we need to do. That's not typical of the Oilers organization. Like it's not. I'm sorry. I'm a huge fan, but this is like just so much about this year feels right.
When you make the playoffs and you're bounced in the first round, you never really got a taste of anything, right? And you never really got close. But as you win a round and you win two and you're in that third round, all of a sudden you're not that far away anymore, and then it becomes real.
Well, and you're that much closer to seeing what the other team has to do to win it.
Yeah.
Right? The Colorado Avalanche won the Stanley Cup, and the Oilers sat there and had a front row seat to watch exactly what it takes to win. No different than Wayne Gretzky and Mark Messier's story of 1984 or 1983 when they lost
to the Islanders,
in New York and watched past the dressing room and thought they'd see them all cheering and elated, but they all had ice packs and were just sitting around because they were gassed. They'd expended everything they had. So that's a similar situation. And yeah, to your point, this version of the Flames nor the previous version of the Flames have gotten anywhere close to know what that takes, right? We could say that about Toronto too. Oh, let me switch gears. I've heard the funniest thing today. Which podcast was that on when I was driving? It must have been a major one, but I think maybe it was 32 Thoughts, but they were joking around about maybe it was Cult of Hockey, actually. I think it might have been Bruce McCurdy and Staples talking about how since the NHL has kind of become, there's no middle class anymore. Everybody's either rich or at minimum wage now. And the super teams are formed in basketball because guys just wanted to win a championship, so they'd go somewhere for a year or two. And then the joke went on to say that, whoever Connor McDavid's skating with at a BioSteel camp or whoever he's working out with at Gary Roberts' gym is going to be the next Oiler. So then they transitioned those two things to the joke that there's Austin Matthews is going to come and play for the Oilers on a 1-year minimum contract just so that he can win a cup.
Yeah, crazy to think that him and Connor Bedard could be both in Arizona.
Right. Yeah. You gotta think that's what Matthews is doing, but Arizona, not the Oilers.
Yeah, I don't know.
So much of me cheers against the Leafs, so I want them to feel that disappointment. I want Matthews to walk like Gaudreau walked on Calgary. Is that rude?
You know what? I've got nothing against really the players on the Leafs. It's just that whole media force-fed. They're the only team in Canada bullshit that I have a hard time with.
The fan base is obnoxious as well.
Yeah, it can be
obnoxious. Can be.
Peter Griffin kind of laughed when I said Campbell's gonna bring consistency. I don't know. I think
is that a soup joke or?
Hey, you just made it one, so
look, Peter Griffin. Jack Campbell had the highest save percentage in the entire NHL last year before he got hurt. It was a 953, a ridiculous save percentage. He was in the All-Star game for a reason. He knows how to handle the Canadian media pressure. He's done it in Toronto. He's been a blue chip prospect his entire career. It took him a long time to get it to the NHL. He's finally got his opportunity. Why not Jack Campbell? Do I think he's a top 10 goalie? Nope. But all this team needed was consistency. That's all we needed was consistency. If he has a 915, we're laughing.
Yeah.
If he has a 910, we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
If he has a 950, I'm sorry, but we're winning the President's Trophy.
Yeah, north of 900 is for us is going to be something. I mean,
enjoy Curtis Lazar, Peter Griffin.
Yeah,
you'll get the Canucks far.
Do you really do you think Jack Campbell is going to go on the Saturday morning waltzes around the ice to go and play pucks and just all of that noise that was in Mike Smith's game, is going to be gone. And as great of a puck handler as he was, it was just the unforced errors that would happen, probably once every 3 or 4 games. Last year wasn't as bad as the year before, but those are hard. I went New Year's Eve 2 years ago. James Neal scores a hat trick. The Oilers are running away with the game, and Mike Smith decided to keep the Rangers in it. And that that's happened on more than one occasion, and really against the Avalanche there was a couple games that should have been ours, and definitely Game 4. You got a lead in the third period. You just hold the line, and you live by the sword. You live by the sword and die by the sword. But honestly, I'm just looking forward to a goalie that is just concerned about making saves, and bringing a calmness. You like Mike Smith's fire, but I don't know if I like a goalie that's all fire. I'm not sure that really, yeah.
That should come from Chris Pronger, not from
maybe
not from Dwayne Rollison, right? Like Rolly's got to be the calm, cool. I let one in, whatever, right? That's what you need.
And maybe my thinking comes from all the years of watching Grant. So maybe that's kind of watered me down, but I mean Grant was amazing, right? When bad things happen, Steve Smith scores on him. His attitude is, well, I should have had it. Like
I shouldn't have been out that. I shouldn't have been in his way.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have been out of my crease that far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the counter to that is me trying to be realistic and not too much of a homer is it's going to come with its other set of problems, right? Mike Smith, yes. Every 5 games would do something with the puck that would make us all go smash our head through the wall. Yes, it piled up on the team mentally. I agree, and I believe that. Especially in those games like New York when you think you've got it and you don't. That said, the other 4 games in 2 periods that he didn't do that, he was stopping pucks for defensemen. He was stopping them from getting hit into the end boards.
Right.
He was stopping them from taking rough cuts into the corner. He was saving their energy because they didn't have to skate back. Now they do. And we have a younger defense and potentially, I don't want to say a worse defense because I'd be defending Duncan Keith a little bit in saying that, but Broberg's not better than Duncan Keith, I don't think. Not at this point in his career. He certainly should, get close to that soon, I hope. All said, Ryan Murray's he's really the only improvement, right? Like we have the defense we went into the playoffs with except Keith. And now we're going to ask these younger players to take more time, more responsibility, and, go back harder for pucks. And so that's going to come with its cough-ups. And it's going to come, I don't know if you remember, but Broberg's pension and his downside is how hard he gets hit. And Bouchard has a very similar game where they're almost too calm. I don't think Bouchard has a very good radar for danger at all. And it's almost because he's just too damn calm. The guy's 6 millimeters away from you. Make your move, Bouch. And Broberg's got a bit of that too. And I think that's why Broberg gets stapled into the end boards consistently year after year. And so that's the part that worries me. And that's the flip side when you don't have Mike Smith. But to agree with you on the flip side, Mike Smith was yelling at Broberg. Mike Smith was yelling at Niemelainen. Mike Smith was yelling at these young defense when they made mistakes and screaming at them. I joke that Jack Campbell is Ned Flanders. He might be the nicest human being that's ever been born. Literally, I think there's a sign somewhere that says, "Welcome to Jack Campbell, nicest human ever." He's never yelled at anybody. So, is there method to that madness? Oh, geez, we had a hot-headed goalie that really sent our team into a spiral and, had guys so intimidated by him that they were scared to be around him and scared to talk to him, to having Ned Flanders as your goalie. I think that's going to give us more consistency overall, but don't expect it to eliminate mistakes that make you want to bang your head through the wall.
I had to laugh because when you started describing Bouchard's, playing his own end, I thought the music for the morning mandate was coming on because that's what Rashog says all the time. That he doesn't really sense danger very well in his own end.
You can see it. Watch him play. It's just dude, now, pass it now.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, I'm like, oh wow, that was smart. And then every once in a while, I'm like, ooh, that was bad.
I like it.
The pinch at the playoffs.
I like his decision making with the puck, but sometimes just recognizing that, hey, I got to go get that. I got to go retrieve that now because that guy is coming in hot. Is missing. With Broberg, I think he's a little bit more fleet of foot, but
very fleet. Broberg's our best pucking moving defenseman, and I don't mean by passing. I mean puck transporting defenseman.
Yeah.
And it's not even close. He's easily the best skating defenseman we have.
Well,
That's ahead of Nurse. I'm not kidding, man. He can fly.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to beat Nurse in a foot race down the ice, but I think he's going to be close.
Yeah, he would. I'll put my 25 cents on Broberg for sure.
I don't think so. How often do you see Darnell actually full out? He gallops, but it's not very often you see him full out. And remember, he was dealing with a pretty significant...
I was going to say, unless it's in the playoffs. Dislocated hip or whatever.
He was dealing with a pretty significant injury last year. I mean...
Torn hip flexor.
Going back to junior, he was the only one really that could defend Connor in the OHL, so...
Yeah. Yeah, Sault Ste. Marie.
But Broberg is in that stratosphere. For sure.
So, it goes a long way.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Are you... I guess I got two things for you. What are you most excited about the upcoming season? The challenge in front of him?
What could Connor show us that he hasn't yet? Which seems fucking asinine to say.
You make a good point there, and I'll just spin off of that. With him, it is almost like, when I was growing up and 90s Bulls, Michael Jordan every night would do something and you'd be like, how did he do that? And
the reverse layup.
And Connor's the same way. Like, what is next? What's coming next? Yeah. Sorry.
Scores that goal against the Rangers, or he scores that goal against the Leafs, 2 years ago, and Morgan Riley.
You'll never top that.
Still stapled to the boards. The year before that, he sent that Columbus defenseman spinning into the boards on his knees and crashed like it was an F1 car. And then he goes and walks through 4 New York Rangers to win the game last year. And that arguably wasn't even his best goal of the year last year. So, yeah, man, I think it's the most exciting thing about being an Oilers fan is watching Connor McDavid play. So what am I the most excited about? Show me what's next, Connor. My nerd answer would be a full season of Woodcroft and Manson. I just really think that Manson especially, it's just been so long since Edmonton has had reliable defense, and what I've seen is so promising so far out of what he's done and who he's had in the minors, and the fact that, now we're picking from the Condors and they're just all the guys that he's coached and already knows their tendencies and already knows their strengths and already knows their weaknesses, and I'm excited to see more 11 and 7s and see how they all sort themselves out and how they put everybody in the blender and what happens. And after all my words, I'm a little excited to see who wins the Pacific, because, man, I've got some crow to eat if it's not the Flames.
I don't think it's going to be Vegas. I'll go out on a limb there.
Jeepers, no.
Excluding Dylan Holloway, who's the next, up and comer that's forward that's going to crack the lineup either this year or next?
Well, Holloway's got to start the season on the team. If he starts the year in the minors, then there's a complication with how they pay his bonuses, and it screws us up on the cap as well. So we've actually got to have him in the lineup for the opening day. So he's going to make the team for sure. Holloway. I think it's likely going to be someone on the back end.
I said forwards. Come on.
Oh, did you say I'm forwards?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said young players. All right, my bad.
I did, but out of the forwards, yeah.
It's such a solid group. That's a hard question.
It is.
Right?
There's some good stuff coming there.
Right? Bourgault's not ready. Benson's not reliable enough. It's not Lavoie. It's not Savoy. I don't think there is anybody right now, to be honest. Ask me this question in 12 months.
Yeah, no, I said either this year or next. So, in the next 2 seasons.
And it's Bourgault.
Yeah.
And it's Bourgault. Watching highlights of him recently. I know I sent you guys a few clips in our Heavy Hockey private thread. Just like his skill set, man. I thought we drafted a sniper, right? Like, he's one of the best scorers in the entire Canadian Hockey League. Everything I am impressed with Xavier Bourgault is not shooting. In those highlights, man, his offensive instincts in the offensive end, and the way he can find guys open without even looking, and without it, like, he just knows where guys are moving. He's like, I don't say this very often. I don't, but Gretzky always said, I don't go where the puck is. I go where the puck's going to be, and that kept flashing in my brain when I was watching Bourgault play, just because of the way that he was, working with his teammates and finding different guys. And some of his best plays in his highlight reels are passes, not shots. He's got this ability to bring guys to. He's not the fleetest of foot, which makes me like. He's not as big, but he reminds me of Joe Thornton a little bit. Just the way he gets over the blue line, makes sure everybody's on side, and then he hitches up and just does something to delay or bring people to him. And before you know it, somebody's streaking on the open wing or on the back door with a wide open pass. He's just so well fitted to play with Connor McDavid, Mike. Like, if he can be that type of Joe Thornton that can, just put the puck right on Connor McDavid, well, really, like, it's kind of like having a Draisaitl on your line all the time, but still being able to have Draisaitl on the second line.
Yeah.
Now, that type of player, like Draisaitl, Thornton, that, they can skate, but nobody calls them fast. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, Joe Thornton was fast early in his career, but not towards the end here.
Never the fastest on his team, and never, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
He wasn't slow, but he wasn't fast either. I'd say that about Draisaitl. They said skating might be an issue. When was the last time you saw Draisaitl get caught?
Yeah.
Like, he just doesn't, right? I want to expand on your question, though, just because I do think that we are going to see either Niemelainen or Desharnais take a big step this year. And one of those two guys, given their size and their physicality, are going to fill a role that we need. And injuries happen, man. Like, I'm not going to throw names out there, but somebody's going to get hurt on the back end at some point in time. And I'm pretty excited to see those two guys at 6'6" and 6'7", both with one hits to hurt and one fights to hurt. So bring it.
It's come up twice in the chat here, and Lotsy's in there trying to answer questions for us. But the Kane grievance with San Jose. This I think it's Stal Zemsty, hopefully I pronounced your name right, asks, are we still in danger of losing Kane due to his grievance? The Kane grievance, in August, that was supposed to be getting done, and I have this suspicion in my head that it's not a priority for the San Jose Sharks, so they I don't even
think they're going through with it.
Yeah, I don't even think there's going to be anything this summer.
I think just the funny way that Evander Kane signed, right? How Holland kind of said, okay, if you love it, set it free. And, go test free agency, go talk to San Jose, go talk to your lawyers, go do whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
Talk to about your custody, whatever.
I don't think it's been.
And then all of a sudden, Evander Kane announces his own contract at midnight. I don't think he would have signed that contract, nor would the Oilers, if he was ever still at risk of going to be lost to San Jose in a grievance. So
yeah.
I don't know the answer to that, Sal, but I don't think we have to worry.
Something tells me that he hasn't dropped the grievance, or we would have heard that. But I don't think it's a priority for the San Jose Sharks, and I don't actually think there's going to be anything resolved in the courts this summer. I think it's going to be like anything else that goes into the court system is just going to get pushed. Maybe they'll deal with it next year, but I actually don't see a scenario where he ends up back with the San Jose Sharks whatsoever.
I think it's a lose-lose, and nobody's interested in lose-lose situations. That's kind of the way I look at it. I think, is it a possibility legally? Sure. Who wants that? The Oilers don't. The Sharks don't. I don't think the NHLPA does. So.
Yeah, no. I mean,
the NHLPA might, from a standpoint that they don't want NHL players' contracts just being canceled for no reason.
Yeah.
But ultimately, this player ended up just fine. They're contributing back to the system. They've got money contributing back to the cap. You got a 5-year contract.
It might come down to almost like an out-of-court settlement between Kane, the Sharks, and NHLPA.
In which case, we'll never hear about it anyways.
We probably will, but it'll be like, this is what happened. And Kane probably doesn't end up getting full retail value of his contract. It's just a settlement because he's already got another contract, and yeah.
Here's $3 million to shut your mouth. Like, and if that's the case, he won't be able to talk about it. They'll be under NDAs. It'll take 20 years for that stuff to come out.
Hey, Stal says, I hope we can still manhandle the Flames, and he thanks us for touching on his question there.
Thanks for listening.
I think the Flames got a little scary in the off season.
I don't think we can manhandle the Flames. I don't think we can. No. In the postseason, our stars will shine, and that's just like they did last time. And I believe that's all we'll need. I strongly believe that. In the regular season, them Flames gonna play Sutter hockey. They got bigger, they got better, they got deeper in defense, and that's exactly what Sutter wants.
Yeah, the days of the Battle of Alberta being a trench warfare, I don't think are around anymore.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
that ended with Cassie and Chuck. I think nobody else.
And even that,
Kadri has that capability of starting a fire and throwing gas on it, but
yeah, but on
the playoffs, he's got to watch it. He's been suspended for 4 out of 6 years.
Well, and Kane ended his playoff, experience.
Good point. Chuck, you mean? Yeah. And Kadri. That's right.
Kadri.
I would say he ended both of those guys' experiences because whatever he said to Chuck, he didn't show up again the rest of the series.
And I mean, Lucic, what did he really do? I mean, and that's the biggest physical presence, really, I guess, other than Zadorov that they have. And is it
anybody up from the bench, Lucic, and Zadorov was too busy picking up his jockstrap in the corner.
And
Connor McDavid made him look silly.
Did Zadorov go somewhere else, or is he still there? Because I think he was a free agent, wasn't he?
He re-signed there, and who went to?
The one guy went to Columbus. His partner.
Columbus.
Gabranson went to Columbus.
Yeah. So Zadorov re-signed in Calgary, then I think.
Yeah. But I mean, after game 1, I think it was after game 1, he was a non-factor in that series too. Like, trying to run around to hammer everybody. Gabranson went to Columbus. Lotzi, if you're answering, he's still there. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ryan, our crack stats guy.
They kept the big slow Russian and traded and let the big slow Canadian walk.
There we go.
Still big and slow.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're better suited to win those games. I mean, if you're worried about settling scores, that's junior B hockey. I don't think that's NHL hockey anymore.
I think we got more scores to settle in LA than against Calgary at this point. Is somebody going to deal with Mikey Anderson and that Slewfoot?
Yeah, and what about Kempe and the?
Maybe. I mean, that's a serious question. Do you think they'll? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I maybe Leon. Maybe Leon takes that on himself.
Well, I don't know. Somebody should do something. Leon's certainly not faint of heart. I wouldn't want Leon mad at me or pissy.
I was looking for the Pissy Life shirt to wear tonight, but I couldn't find it. Oh man. Yeah.
In the laundry with your camouflage hat.
That's upstairs. Yeah, it's starting to look a little bit more weathered, so I've donned the blue one. Had to sharpen up. We're filling in for Hebert. It's not me and you. Show tonight.
There you go. Except you still got the bear nostrils showing, which means Hebert's nostrils are flaring in Halifax somewhere.
There
you go.
That's better.
There
yeah.
You go. Should we end the podcast as Kevin Weeks? just to piss Hebert off because he loves us being centered in our squares. Everybody, by the way.
Yeah.
Which if you're only listening and you're not watching right now, this is terrible podcasting.
Yeah. Yeah, got to be centered up more. Oh. Good audience tonight. People on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook. Maybe on Twitter, but the shitty thing now is that it doesn't tell you who's watching on Twitter anymore. Good audience on YouTube. Thanks
for 100 more, I'm sure, on Twitter at least.
Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't already, you can subscribe to the Heavy Hockey Network. There's articles on the website, heavyhockey.com. Me and Dash.
I might even fire up straight off the pipe again. You never know.
Yeah. We're probably,
the season to get going.
Yeah. A couple weeks away for me and you to start playing catch for another season.
Back to Elle and Peggy? Are we just going to argue again? I don't know. With Duncan Keith gone, I feel like we might actually get along, and that's scary.
Lotzi wants us to answer thoughts on the rookie tournament games going on this week. Maybe I missed it. No, you didn't miss it. We didn't touch on it. Should be exciting. You know, those some firepower now. You know, I like what I see from some of the forwards. I don't think they're elite talent, but pretty talented.
It's young. The forward group's young. Excited to see what this next up-and-coming defensive group can do for us, just because it's such an intangible we need. I mean, we're talking about the Flames beating people up, and in the wings we've got Samorukov and Darnay and Niemelainen all waiting there to hurt people, and they all enjoy it. So that's, to me, watching those three develop is going to be the most intriguing, as well as, you know, for obvious reasons, I think it can do a massive job to push our franchise the next step forward by some of these young guys stepping up and playing vital roles. And with the cap hell we're in, we need guys on minimum wage to fill in and fill roles. So watching to see how they develop is something I'm really looking forward to. I just think we've got go ahead, sorry.
Niemelainen, man, you know, rest his soul, but that's Brian Marchment 2.0. You know, like that's
hit to hurt.
It's the same game.
Don't just knock you on your ass.
Or Jason Smith, I guess, would be the other one.
Gator did it with his stick. Like he'd give you little chops and spears and those short little cross checks all the time. Mush would try to put you through the boards or into the box, and I can see that part of Mush's game for sure. We're gonna need it though, man. I think Calgary and LA might be two of the toughest teams in the league, and that's our competition in our own division, not our own conference, our own division.
Yeah, it's
the Flames and the Kings.
Yeah.
If the Kings are healthy, man, we barely got by the Kings, and then now they've improved. They've got Fiala. Maybe they'll have a healthy Arvidsson. Might have a healthy Doughty, God forbid.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's going to be more of a battle than we all think it is. I know everybody's handing the Oilers the division and handing them another berth into the Western Conference Final, but I'm just not underestimating any of these other teams, man. There's so much parity in the NHL, and it looks like it's close to our time, and
we will.
God, I hope it is, but
we will shut her down soon. But I gotta ask, did we do enough in the summer to get over that hurdle or hill or mountain? Mountain's probably a better word for it in Colorado.
No. And that's why I'm so excited to see these guys on D grow. We need Holloway, we need McLeod, we need Niemelainen, we need Darnay. We need those guys to fill valuable roles on this team.
There's a little bit of change that
Holland can't do anything in the off season to improve players he already has. Send them home and hope they train and eat right. So really, he brought back the team that we went into the Western Conference Finals with. We had Kane, we had Kulak. He brought those guys back. We have a
consistent goalie? Sure, Smith was awesome in the playoffs. He had a better save percentage than Campbell did over the entire season last year. So you want to talk about Smith not being consistent? He had a better save percentage than Campbell at the end of the season when it was all said and done. So, no, I don't think we have. Does that mean I don't think we're going to get there? No. I think their moves, you know, Bill Scott said something, I don't know if you heard that, Stauffer, I think it was a few days ago or whatever, but like I said, Bill Scott being the cap manager for Holland, basically talking about the players that you take into the season and, you know, how they are starting this season with, you know, the best and most consistent team possible. Basically, he explained something in LTIR that I didn't understand, and you can put players on the LTIR while you're still in the off season, okay, before the puck drops. And if you do that, you basically have that money to spend in the off season. If you just go and declare who your LTIR is during the time period that is allotted and during the season, you actually can't spend that money because you have to be compliant for the puck drop. So what that did was force Holland's hand to not really be able to make off-season moves. He can now make in-season moves as a result, and that's why I think most of this is going to happen at the trade deadline. You asked me about Patrick Kane earlier, and we must have got on a tangent because I don't think I remember answering it. What did I think of all the talk about Patrick Kane? They're still talking about Patrick Kane. From what I've heard is two sides. Stauffer going, I need to fill a show. I got 4 hours to talk about the Oilers every day.
Right.
Hey, this Kane thing is going around. Let's see if it's got legs and I can fill a show. And it's also a bunch of clicks because it's a big name like Kane, and it's also a bunch of listens. And
yeah.
Stauffer's not terrible at what he does. What I've heard is that Kane has no interest in going anywhere until the trade deadline. And it's because he wants to win a Stanley Cup again. And hypothetically, if 2 or 3 stars of any given team get hurt, I'm not going to say the Oilers because I don't want to jinx us, but if Makar and McKinnon get hurt, does he want to go to Colorado? You ask him now, he'd say, hell yeah. You ask him at the trade deadline with those 2 guys out for the rest of the season, he may not want to go to Colorado anymore. So, from what I understand, it's a lot easier to move his giant cap that late in the season because it's all proportionate to how many games you have left and what you have to pay. And ultimately, you can maybe get a second team in. Those deals aren't easy to make, but you bring a second team in to maybe take another portion of the salary, and it could happen. So I could see JP being part of that deal. Patrick Kane to JP to Chicago. You know, but we're not gonna know any of that for 4 more months, and so much can change before now and then. Who knows? So that would have been my Patrick Kane answer for you earlier. But it all leads to what I'm saying and the fact that I think we'll make our moves at the trade deadline. What if Patrick Kane gets hurt at Christmas? You know, those aren't going to be interested anymore. So I think Ken Holland can make the smartest decisions at the last minute, and he'll have the most flexibility to do so at that time. And so if somebody that swallows up a large portion of salary is hurt, well, then he's got that amount of, you know, cap space to make that bigger of a move. Why make your move now when, how do we know he's not going to have $6 million in cap space at the trade deadline? We don't know that. And if he does, that means somebody good is hurt, and then we probably need to backfill that position. Right? So I can see us making the move to get over the mountain of Colorado before the playoffs, but I don't think he did enough in the offseason, to answer your question.
How much does losing Kadri affect them?
Yeah, that's a really good question. A lot. I do think that. He's a big part of protecting McKinnon, that second hole. Johansson back for a full season, and they only had him for 15 games last season. It's a pretty considerable add to the back end for an 82-game schedule. There's a couple other small moves they made. I think they'll be okay, but they've got a taste of it too now, right? I mean, once you know what it takes to win. So, you're right. And Kadri was hurt for part of the playoffs, and they were, I don't want to say just fine without him, but they were just fine without him.
And Lotzi says losing Burakovsky too.
Right. Yeah, different goaltender. I mean, I don't know. It's Frankie full time. It's a different team. But I'm not discounting the Avalanche for a second. Not even a second.
Yeah.
Nor the Flames, nor the Kings.
I think we might have got a little closer to him, but really in that series we weren't all that close.
Yeah, well said.
But I think we probably should have still won a game or two, but that doesn't win you a series.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure.
You brought up the Kings. Are you more afraid of them in a playoff series than Calgary again? I mean, it's a long ways from now, but...
Yeah, and that's, I guess, kind of what I was going to skirt a bit. But, if you want an answer, yeah, I'm more scared of the... Geez, I don't know, man. For the playoffs? Sorry, did you ask me the playoffs?
Yeah,
the Kings, for sure. I am. They've won it. They know what it takes. There's players on that team that have won it. Maybe I just can't forget how Doughty took over the Olympics. I don't know. I think the Kings are going to be tough, man. They really are. Going to be a tough out. Todd McClellan's a good coach. He's a really good coach. He's got a lot of that team. Deneau and Kopitar, everything you want in a first and second line center. They got up and coming players.
Yeah. Yeah.
Looks good.
I had another thought in my head there.
Byfield takes another step like he should. Like, man.
Oh,
he's the next Patrick or Evander Kane.
Yeah. There's a good power forward. There's a good power
but
forward.
Regular season, I'm more scared of the Flames.
There's a good power forward in Quentin Byfield for sure. I know what I was gonna say to you. Was all the hype and whatnot that went into that series with Calgary? Did you find that to be a letdown, that whole series? In terms of, what, your expectations are just an all-out bloodbath war. And it never really was that at all.
Yes and no, I see what you're saying, right? If we finally get that for the first time in 30 years, let's see Semenko bloody Hunter's nose, and let's see Semenko let's see Messier put his elbow through Joel Otto's head.
Scrums after every whistle, and face washes and nastiness, and it really wasn't.
It ended as soon as Taychuk went like this, and Kane said whatever he said to him. Because as soon as Taychuk got put in his place, the entire identity of that team just went, and he's the heartbeat when it comes to that kind of stuff. He's the only guy that was capable on that team of getting another entire team pissed off at him.
Yeah.
Kadri can do that now, don't get me wrong. But I'm never going to be disappointed when the Oilers beat the Flames in the playoffs.
Neil Garrity's asking if Brown retired. Yeah, I think Dustin Brown has shut her down. Yeah.
He did,
yeah. Yeah, I don't even know. Like I can't even fathom. But something made Calgary wilt in that series. And
one guy.
Hey, maybe I don't know if it was McDavid's skill or they felt like they just couldn't compete with the skill or what.
It's a perfect storm. I just think it was a perfect storm.
But they folded.
I think when they saw, we live rent free in Markstrom's head anyways. I think ever since he chose the Flames over the Oilers, he had a contract with Holland. Like his agent thought he was going to Edmonton.
Right.
And all of a sudden he's a Flame so that he can go and play with his childhood friend that he used to have childhood sleepovers with, Elias Lindholm. Great. You can have your frickin' sleepovers in your tents out in the backyard with your sleeping bags again, boys. Thing is it's made Markstrom go, man, should I have gone there? Should I have gone there? And I think it's in his head. That, along with Draisaitl is beating us on one leg. we have entire shifts where we slashed him on this leg, his bad leg, 7 times in one shift. And he still got... He beat Wayne Gretzky's points in a series. Like, on one leg, Draisaitl set NHL records against that team. Then Connor just takes the puck and skates through everybody. They beat everybody up the entire regular season. They're very intimidating as far as Goodbranson, as far as Zadorov, as far as Lucic. You can play those guys regular minutes in the regular season. When they all of a sudden had to play those guys 7-8 minutes a night, who's Lucic going to beat up from the bench?
It's funny, you know, my kid had to come and give me a hug, but
good night, Max.
you know, when I was asking you if you heard Draisaitl talk about, you know, how he had to learn how to play with his injury, he said at the same time, he said he couldn't figure out why Calgary was slashing his wrong foot.
That's a good Draisaitl joke.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No way. Perfect storm. It's intimidating, right? You've lost your Tanev. You're getting dominated by, right? Like Tanev's got one arm and he couldn't do anything. Meanwhile, Draisaitl's got one leg and we're playing hockey and he's dominating. McDavid's dominating. Like Smith was better, right? So I just think it added up real fast. Those games were close, man. Like it's not like we just blew them. 5-1 sounds gross, but they kicked our ass that one game. Like, what did they score 9 goals on us or something like that?
Well,
1 or 2.
They should have ran away with game 1, but Markstrom let us in it. You know, and
for sure.
And I think
I
think that hockey game that was a clinic by them turning into, you know, a shootout kind of did more damage to them than anything.
Yeah. I think when St. Louis was beating people up to win a Stanley Cup, like O'Reilly and like those guys are monsters.
Yeah.
Right? Like Goudreau and Tkachuk and Lindholm
right.
and Backlund and like, have I intimidated you with any of these names yet? Mangiapane?
Right.
You intimidated?
Yeah.
So it's different, right? Like they could roll 4 lines in a Sutter system and roll 6D and have those other guys intimidate you, whereas that only works in the playoffs if you're on the ice.
Yeah.
So high-end skill went up easily.
You start to shorten your bench because they can't keep up. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Zadorov and Goodbranson both. I'm sure that's why Goodbranson, they let him walk, and I don't know. I hope we can do it to Zadorov again.
Yeah. Yeah. When he catches you, it hurts, but he has to catch you first.
Yeah.
Markstrom was the difference. Smith outplayed him. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I see the comments now. Yeah, exactly. Our high-end talent, Markstrom sucking. Yeah, I agree with all that.
I think that's the big difference too is, you know, you look around the league and really good teams. Well, most teams in the league will have one game breaker.
Yeah.
Now we're kind of looking at 3 on this team. I would put Kane into that conversation with Leon and Connor. I kind of don't think he's gonna have the season that he had the finish to last year with, but I don't think the drop off is going to be massive. I think there will be a little bit, but I like what I saw out of him. Like there's a pretty effective power forward in that man.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like a Scottie Pippen of the NHL.
Go to bed.
You've been listening to your dad too much. Go to bed.
Dennis Rodman.
Yeah, no. Vander Kane is not Dennis Rodman.
Our 90s Bulls section has already been filled for tonight, Max.
Yeah, I had.
Dad already covered that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night. Have a good sleep. You get back to bed and wake up.
Yeah. People are predicting 70 points. Yeah, I think that's within Kane's grasp. I would maybe up that by 10 points too. I would say 80-point season from him is not out of the realm of possibility.
If he stays healthy, he should score 40. So 40 and 30 sounds pretty realistic to me.
Yeah.
If he gets 45 or 50, then you were right.
Yeah.
I think 30 assists is where he caps out at. So does he score 40 or 50?
Probably, yeah.
We're saying that about an Oiler. Is he going to score 40 or 50? And
Wow.
we're not saying McDavid or Draisaitl.
Yeah. Does Leon hit 60? I mean, that's...
I don't know. Who hits 50 first out of Leon, Kane, or McDavid?
Yeah.
Maybe a Twitter poll.
Yeah.
All right, man. This is fun.
340 goal plus guys sounds like a good year.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah. I got one last question. We'll shut her down.
Okay, buddy.
Thing you're most nervous about with this group going forward this season? See, I thought you would have had an answer already.
No.
Really?
The youth on our back end.
Yeah.
That was my snap answer, but then I wanted to maybe change it, but then I can't because, Jan, we're just so consistent everywhere else. Yeah, it's the fact that we've got, still a young Bouchard, a young Broberg, Kulak, Nurse, and Barry are good. They're probably, Nurse is a number one defenseman. The other guys are all probably 3s and 4s and 5s and 6s. So that worries me a little bit, but I think we have a good enough team to get into the playoffs. I think we have a good enough team to make the playoffs with the defense we have. So, honestly, you'd probably take Nurse out of this group and we'd still make the playoffs. So all that matters is we get to that dance, in my opinion, and we have the defense to get it. So that's why I stalled on my answer a little bit, but that's what I'm the most nervous about. Maybe your injuries. That's what I almost said. Like one of the big four getting hurt.
And just to follow up to that, with the whole Patrick Kane noise, do you like that pursuit if it doesn't cost you a ton to be able to land that? Are you down for that, or would you rather see going, instead of more offense, because I think there's a high degree of offensive talent already, trying to do something to shore up the D a little more?
I'm all for it. Patrick Kane's won a cup. He's,
yeah.
I was all for Phil Kessel. So what do you think you're going to think about Patrick Kane?
So 80s Oilers it up and run and gun. Let's go.
Sure, why not? It depends on the cost. That's the obvious answer, right? If it takes, Puljujärvi and Borgo in a first, well, no, obviously not, right? But I think it's going to take Puljujärvi in a first at the very least, and we're going into one of the deepest drafts in the history of hockey. So I know it's only going to be a high 20s pick, but giving up that first rounder scares me a little bit. That said, it's time to win a cup. We just haven't been this close in way too long. So I'm all in. Chips, middle of the table. Let's go. I don't want to hurt us where we can't win 2 in 3 years. I don't want to be one and done. I want a cup, first things first.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to want another one. Right? It'll be great to win, and it'll be the greatest thing since 1990 as far as hockey's concerned for us, but I don't want to have to blow up the team to do it. So, if we can get Kane for, a reasonable price, and he wants to come here and limits, the teams he could be traded to, like Paycheck did or whatever, then absolutely, I'm all for it.
I think that's a good way to end it. I mean,
unless Pronger's still available.
Yeah, call him up. Swing for the fence. Time is now. And yeah, if you don't have to cut too deep to do it, I'd be down for that too. Overwhelm teams with offensive firepower and fire wagon hockey, and hopefully the defense learn how to play defense in the playoffs, because you're always going to need that to win a cup. But that power play would be something with adding the likes of Patrick Kane out there. We were talking about Hemmer earlier, but there's similarities with Patrick Kane, the things he does on the power play that Hemsky did. So, Thanks for hopping on. It was a lot of fun. It was good to get back and doing this. Apologize to Mr. Hebert that we were a little tardy, but sometimes while you're busy making plans, life happens. Keep your sticks on the ice.
Say tardy slow. It sounds like he said tired of you.
Yeah.
Sorry, We're tired.
Keep your sticks on the ice. Keep reaching for the stars. Season's going to start soon. Go Oilers, go. And my fiance is making vomit sounds in the background, so I think that's time to shut her down. Thanks again, Dash.
Good night.
Good night. Good night, everybody.
Keep your sticks on the ice and the stars in your eyes.
She doesn't realize the mics are still hot. Over and out, everybody. Good night.